Great. So, in everybody's career, especially when you are in academic circles, it is almost an expectation that you need to write research articles, right? And some of the institutions, some of the leading institutions expect that you start writing already when you are in your undergraduate education, right? And some of them expect. And this is a very simple expectation that once you are in the business of doing research, there has to be an outcome of that research. It's not that I have done research, then I just forget it, prepare a small little, monologue, a thesis, and just forget it. Why? Because, of course, you are the loser, the first person who will lose, because you don't have anything credit on your CV. Okay? But then your advisor loses a lot because he or she does not have anything shown that they received funding for you and did not publish anything, whether it's a master's thesis or whether it's a PhD thesis. Either way, something has to come out of it. In addition to the scientific outcome, there has to be a product outcome also. And you are the one who should make sure as a graduate student that the work that I have done, firstly, is of quality. It's paramount. It should be of quality. And if it is of quality, it should be published, it should be shared, it should be made known to the scientific community. It's so important. That's the reason.
There is the article-based dissertation thesis. That's why.
I'm really happy that today there is an article-based PhD that we have adopted here at UAU. Almost more than 30 years ago, when I did my PhD, or maybe more, it was article-based. That time it was article-based, and I had to publish not just 2, but at least 5 articles. Now, the number of articles always varies depending upon the subject, discipline, okay? It varies depending upon the discipline. In some disciplines, it is very difficult to publish even 2 good articles. Very difficult to publish. Some of the humanities and social sciences can be in that area, but some of the STEM areas are also such that it takes considerable amount of effort to get to a level where you can publish a credible article. And I will be paying a lot of emphasis on credible quality. I'll be pushing a lot on that. It's very important. One of the message for today is, don't try to publish crap. Don't try to publish crap. People who will review your CV take 2 minutes in knowing what is this on the CV when they review. And today, when I've gone through my academic career for 42 years now, it does not matter what discipline I'm in. But as soon as I see the CV, I know how deep this person is and how superficial this person is. It takes 2 minutes to find out. So you are at the cusp of that stage in graduate education. Also, we as faculty need to be careful about it, that we publish quality. We make sure that there is integrity associated with whatever we do, and we publish good. And that is the type of resolution that you need to take in your graduate education very early, so that you make sure that you are on the right track. Okay? So let's get started and let's ask some simple questions. No. So in your opinion, what's a research article? Although I gave you a glimpse of what it is. What's a research article? Okay, you don't have to be quiet. You have to speak with me, else I become quiet. Okay?
An article published in journal.
Sorry?
Article published in journal.
In journal. Okay. So it's a research-based, very important. It's a research-based article that is published in a journal. Okay? Very good. It adds to the existing knowledge, or it produces new knowledge also, right? So it's not just adding to the previous, it can be sometimes totally something brand new. That is also research. Yes?
It summarizes the research and communicates it to the academic
To the community.
community.
Whether it is scientific community, whether it is, how to say, industry, or even policymakers. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, for research research design, or
We'll come to that.
yeah.
We'll come to that.
Sometimes I can see literature review.
We'll come to that. We'll come to that. Very soon we'll come to that. So here are just, for the sake of discussion, I've thrown in few things over here that what is a research article? A journal article in which the authors report on the research they conducted. As simple as that. Pretty straightforward and simple. Now remember this thing, this is important. And I will explain it later also, that these articles have to be peer reviewed. They have to be peer reviewed. If they are not peer reviewed, I can go to her, she's a journal publisher, hey dear, can you publish this crap for me? It doesn't work. Because nobody else has vetted it, nobody else has examined it, nobody else has given their comments on it. That's not how research should be published. So this is very important. Invariably, that's why I'm saying invariably. There are some articles that might get published, they are different sort, but it should be peer reviewed. And everything that you people will publish will be and should be peer reviewed. Your peers should be able to review it and say, yeah, fantastic, this is good, this is worth publishing. Very important part. Next.
I have a question for peer review.
Mm-hmm.
Some research articles, they will write like peer reviewed, and some they will not write like peer reviewed.
Invariably, it is peer reviewed. Invariably. Even if they are not writing, the journal has in its policy clearly written that they will be peer reviewed. If it is not peer reviewed, the credibility of that journal is highly questionable.
Okay, we can see on the homepage.
On the home page, you will find, okay? Assesses the research that is conducted in terms of the contribution to the existing body of knowledge. Like you mentioned, either it's already existing knowledge or totally new knowledge. Next. And detailed studies reporting new work which are classified as primary literature. That is also coming out as a research article. So it's brand new, nothing new. Either it is building on the current scientific knowledge or it is absolutely new. All these things in general fall under the category of a research article. Not just in academic circles, but also otherwise anywhere else also. Okay? Great. And I will not be talking much about articles that are published in newspapers. Okay? So whatever I'll be talking is mainly related to academic research because that's more relevant to us. Otherwise, there are articles that are published in very nice articles actually, published in newspapers, articles that are published in magazines, articles that are layman articles, very nicely written, beautifully written. So some of the journalists and some of the writers, they come up with fantastic articles. But our focus will be more here. Next. So what are the attributes of a research article? How would you say that the research article should have this quality and this quality and this quality and this quality? I'm not asking what should be the, we'll come to that in a separate slide, that what should be their titles and all those things. No, here's the attributes. Unique factors, very good. That's the right attitude towards your research. Any other thing you can think of?
Internal, external validity.
Okay, it is properly vetted, verified, repeated experiment, same results or similar results. Okay, good.
Like factors, like you mean what lead to research article or what is building a good research article? What exactly?
No, these are the attributes, the qualities. Okay, we'll come to that. Okay, so novelty. Very, 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 very important. I cannot impress enough upon you that whatever you do, it should be novel. Don't get affected or drawn into something that has already been done in Brazil or in Korea or in Australia or in Germany and think that, okay, they have done it 3, 5 or 4 or 5 times. Let me just repeat it over here and say that we have done it in UAE.
Why not?
There's no novelty in it. Because that particular technique, that experiment, the general outcome is already there in the scientific community. Until or unless there is something novel that has been added to those experiments and you have come up with a better solution to the problem, and the problem is still stuck over there, but you have a better answer, absolutely. But there has to be a novelty. Novelty is one of the most important feature of a research article. Next, originality. I mean, these two words are related to each other. That's why they say that a research article should be original research. Always it is written as research article should be original research. That is exciting because you're coming up with something new. You're coming up with a new hypothesis or new synthesis and then telling people that here is a new discovery, for example. Okay? Of course, as we just now talked, that it builds on the current knowledge. So if our knowledge is still only this much, we are building on it, making it better, or adding some novelty on it, so it's growing. The scientific knowledge is growing. So we build on that. Yes, ma'am, quickly.
Yeah, but can we say that it should fill the gap in the literature?
Absolutely, absolutely, because that is what is building also, okay? Filling the gap in the literature. And you will find that word gap coming up in one of the, or 2 of the slides. So absolutely right. Because whosoever does a discovery, it's never complete. It goes on and on and on, keep building. So there are always gaps that one individual or one author or one group of authors are not able to completely accomplish. And that's what is filling the gap. Very good. Keep in mind, always make it a thumb rule for your life that when you publish, you should have enough data such that when you come out with results, it looks like this is wholesome. This is complete. What people tend to do, and which I will strongly discourage you from doing, is do a little work, publish. Do yet another little work, publish. What are you trying to do? Add 7 publications. You could easily do 1 quality publication compared to 7 low-grade, weak publication. And I don't want to undermine your efforts, but this is what I have followed in my career, that I waited sometimes to publish my results because I wanted it to be wholesome. I wanted it to have some weight, that when I present it, then people read it and then say, aha, the person has taken one step forward. It's not necessary that every time you do the work you take 10 steps forward. No, one step forward is enough in science in a certain period of time. But not even crawling an inch forward and claiming that I have won the world makes no sense. So be hungry to write one good article. It carries weight, people can see it, and don't engage into articles that are small things, dots. People don't even notice it. Okay? Always think that what impact you are coming up with. Impact is extremely important. Whatever you do in life, impact is very, very important. We are talking about science, we are talking about publication, but other things also in life, whatever you do, go with an impact. People should remember you. Plus, we are using money from somewhere, from taxpayers, from the government, or from a funding agency. There are expectations that are we making things better for X, Y, Z? And when I put the whole X, Y, Z into one box, I say for humanity. That's the big thing. Whatever research you do, whatever you publish, make sure that you have an impact on something or someone. Okay? Very, very important. Whenever I write a grant proposal, there's a very strong angle in that grant proposal that I'm doing it because this will be the outcome and this will result into making, and I'm just making it up, lives better for everyone. For an organization, for, let's say, humans, or for plants, or for animals, or for food production, whatever it is, there's an impact factor. Make sense to you?
So sometimes the impact, can we get it from other research, or it depends on what? For example, so do I have to go also deep in researches or publication, or
You cannot say anything without knowing what is happening elsewhere.
yeah.
You cannot say anything, and if you try to say, you will be caught like that
Yeah.
very soon. That's peer review about. Okay, let me ask some very quick questions to you. I'm sure some of you will affirmatively say yes, but that's okay if you say no. That's fine, perfectly fine. When I started my PhD career, I didn't have. So I didn't have. That's okay. Time will come. How many of you have written research articles as yet? Just raise your hands. 1, 2, 3. Sorry? I'll ask that question very soon. Good. How many? How many have you? 1? 1. 5. Okay, good.
You were asking how many did not write or did write?
Did write. How many? 1. So those who have written 1 have crossed a major hurdle. I will very soon ask you how do you feel, okay? I'll come to that. But I'm asking the question that you were asking about. Here it is. How many of you are preparing to write 1? Very good. A good number. You have to. You can't live without it. Stipend will be stopped. No. Next one. Here is a very interesting question. What is your level of confidence for writing a research article? Is it OMG, or you know what, I'll climb that mountain. Next. Is this how you feel? Those of you who are wanting to write? All of This is normal, okay? This is not a laughing matter. I'm just enjoying. Sometimes it's good to enjoy even the scare that you have inside. I had the same. Writing my first article was, I cannot tell you what a tremendous amount of effort it was. And the worst thing was, when I took it to my supervisor, he just threw it out into the dustbin. Go back and write. So it's normal. That's okay. It's a learning step. When you're a little baby, you try to walk, you fall down. What do? You stay there? No. You get up again. So it's perfectly okay. Perfectly okay. Okay? So just go back a little. So what bothers you the most when this devil is standing in front of you?
Time, for example.
Time.
And
Okay, we'll get from everyone.
The whole picture is not really so clear to you. Like you are not convinced that now you are ready to really write about this topic.
Very good. It's a true feeling that what should I write? How should I write? Where do I begin? Those type of things. Sorry? How to make a very interesting story, because that should be your desire. An article is like a story. That you should be able to tell it and the other person is wanting to hear it. It should not be that only you are the teller and you are the listener and nobody wants it. Okay? What else?
sometimes we face challenge with orientation. Like, for example, the supervisor is not orienting us with the process, like publishing paper.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just they will say, read and write.
Absolutely, that's the right way.
Read and write.
Read and write.
Yeah.
Okay, but this is a very common answer from the supervisor. Very common answer from the supervisor. And we will talk about some of the things at the end, but deal with it. Deal with it. Learn, do, walk, fall, get your knees broken. But keep doing it, never stop. That's what it is about. Okay, what else? Quickly.
Did the reviewers convince you of the quality of the work itself?
Okay, so you assess the quality of your own work.
Is it of a, would it be of a good value for the
Yep, very good, very good. So this is what I would call as conscious about your own work. This self-reflection is very important, because whatever you do and you feel that this is not enough or this is not good, it's a very good evaluation of who you are. Such people always progress in life, because you are your own judge and you want to make things better for yourself and for everyone also. Okay? So that's very important. You should be self-reflective. Very good. Last one.
Sometimes,
Let me tell you. Okay, quick, very quick.
sometimes we feel problem, like while reading and writing, we are coming to the same point, and sometimes we have light of ideas at the same time we forget.
You go blank.
Yeah.
Welcome to the club. This is a very common problem, and you will encounter it even when you will be writing your, if you have not written your thesis proposal, you will be like, not a single line is written and the whole week has gone. Familiar? Familiar story. So it will be the same thing when you will start writing your first article. You will go to the table, you'll sit down, have a nice cup of tea or coffee with you, and you will keep drinking. The second day, the third day, nothing comes out. Okay, I will add one more to this. Language becomes a barrier. accept it or not, I'm accepting it. I had my complete education in English from childhood, yet when I started writing, my mother tongue was here, English was here, science was here. It was a total mix-up. It was a total mix-up. And language does become a barrier because you want to write one sentence that is properly expressing what you really are thinking, and it's not coming out the way you want it. So it's a very common barrier. Next one, please. So when do you think, in your belief, that, okay, now I'm ready to write an article? Okay.
I don't think that everyone will feel this correctly. I think that we just want to, like, we have to do the work. We cannot feel this idea here.
You have to. You have to. But at least, I mean, you don't have choice. There is this supervisor with the sword ready to chop your head. And then the scholarship is finishing. And the deadline is coming. It's not easy. But those of you who have written articles, any one of you feels that, okay, I felt ready because of this thing, that I'm ready to write an article.
I think before you start your research, you have a plan. Like you want to do steps like step 1, 2, 3, and at the end, you know that you got your results. Now it's time to write the paper and publish it.
That's a very good thought process. Very good thought process. That's how, more or less, it should be. You should feel comfortable that I have something substantial. You should feel comfortable that the results are there, by which I can prepare an article. You should feel comfortable that this is something novel. All the attributes that I wrote, put them together. You should be in a position to say, yep, I'm almost there. Not necessarily 100%, but even 70 to 80%, you're there. That's the time to start writing. Because then while you will be writing, believe me, you will again go to the lab or do research, whether you are in humanities or in business or anywhere else. You would like to go and revisit the data or add more data. When you start writing, you will feel that. So that will happen. So that's the reason why I'm saying that even if you're 70% there, that's the time you can start dreaming, I should start writing now. I have done experiments in numerous times when I wrote another article. In numerous times I've gone back to the lab. In numerous times. And you will find small little components when you were writing, this doesn't make sense. I will have to repeat this, or I'll have to add this part of the experiment. I'll have to get some more data from that company and want to see that how the marketing thing has been going on. So what you're trying to do, you're trying to make the article better. You're adding value to whatever you have written. But then you are ready, gearing up to write an article. Okay? So tell me, okay, you feel that, okay, I can now write a research article. But the framework of a research article, when is it conceived? That, yep, it's time to write. I can write, or I will definitely write an article. Will also, okay? So I'm adding everything over here. I will write an article out of this, or I will write an article in this discipline or in this area. I will.
We discovered that there's a gap in the literature, and you really have an idea to contribute
and you feel that I will be writing something on this. Okay.
And I'm totally satisfied with the experimental results.
Okay, very good. Anyone else?
In the planning phase, usually it is conceived.
In the planning phase, it is conceived. Anyone else? You see, what happens is, some people think that a research plan is being prepared. Is being prepared. It is not prepared, but being prepared. And already they started dreaming about, I will have an article on this. The experiment is not even done as yet. And if you are already planning to write an article, it's good to be positive, but it is not so good to be over optimistic. In any research, you cannot say for sure until or unless you have begun an experiment and gone through it, and he precisely pointed it out, that until or unless you have substantial data where you can feel now you have the possibility to write an article, that is the only time you can start thinking about writing. Anything before that is a false dream, because research has got no guarantee what will come out. Don't be preoccupied in your mind that I will analyze this data and there will be something that I will publish. If you have that attitude, you have a very, I'm sorry to say, you have a very wrong attitude. This is not an attitude of a researcher or a scientist or a person who wants to first check what is coming out and then think that is it worthy. So worthiness is very, very important. So you pointed out very nicely that is the only time you know that an article has been conceived. Until it is not born, it is not there. And it cannot be born unless it has all its components. Its head, leg, everything. Everything. Hands, fingers, everything should be there. That's the time, that's the first time it is conceived. So it's good to be optimistic that I will publish, but no. Experiments have failed multiple times. There are times when I started a project with a hypothesis in mind, but never thought I'll be publishing in that. And you never know you're going in this direction, suddenly there is a huge mountain out there, and you fail, you have to take a side turn, and then you find a valley, and then how you reach. Where it goes, nobody knows. That's the beauty of science. That's where discovery is. That's how you publish. Okay? So don't get excited when you prepare your research proposal that I will have an article on this, I will have an article on this, I will have an article on this. No. It will be very wrong. They get excited. We do write that one experiment will be this, one experiment will be this, one experiment will be. We never write that one article will be this and what. No. You never know how it goes. Okay? Next. So when you prepare a research project and you are geared up to writing a research article, that's what I mentioned just now, that when people start working on a research project, they start dreaming about articles, which is good dream, but not a reality. Okay? Next slide. So what are the most important prerequisites for a research article? What's the time? What's the time? Is my watch working? Sorry?
2:40.
Oh my goodness. So we started at 2 o'clock. I have to go faster. So most important prerequisites for a research article. Let's go forward. So the first and the foremost thing that you will have to do before you engage into writing a research article is do a lot of research on what has been published. You have an idea, but you cannot just go blindly and translate that idea into a research project. Never. Never. You have to scan the landscape very, 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 very carefully. The thing that you are thinking might already have been done by somebody else. And you want to make sure that you don't look foolish when you send your article to the journal and the journal says, sorry, did you make some effort to go and check? This has already been published. So this is just one example. So the most important thing is go deep into the landscape of that particular area and see what is available. On the one hand, it will help you decide whether or not I should go ahead with this research, but on the other hand, someone mentioned about gaps. You did. You will identify those gaps this way. Okay, this is known, this is known, this is known, this. But you know what? Here is a pocket of knowledge that is not available. So suddenly, you will refocus your work such that you fill that important gap. That is what it is about. But trust me, this is what you should start doing about your discipline or your area of work or your PhD potential project. So the project narrows down after 1.5 years or something like that. But before that, as soon as you become a graduate student, that is when you start reading articles and articles and articles. That's literature review, extremely important. Without this, you will not be able to do justice with your article. So I cannot tell you more than to tell you that this is the most important thing that you need to do. It will increase your knowledge in unimaginable manner, and it will guide your thought process to go in the right direction for research. I always ask people that once you have done this literature review and once you have identified those gaps, then you should always write a concept note for yourself. Just a concept note. And in that concept note, you write, this is known, this is known, this is known, this is known. This is not known, we don't know anything about it, here are the gaps. Suddenly you know where to go. Suddenly you know where to go, what to do, why to do. Okay? So that's very important. And then you have a sound research plan, which I already mentioned to you regarding the research proposal. So only then you go for the research proposal. Then you get the results, and only then, so this is exactly what I was coming to, only then you can start thinking about, these are prerequisites. This is the background knowledge you need to get. You need to understand it very well before you can write anything. Okay? Is that clear to you? We are all on the same page? No one is sleeping, I see? Okay, next. Oh, just last one. I'm sorry, I missed that one. Worthy outcomes or results. These are very important because you always should be driven by that. I mentioned it earlier also. I want to stress it again over here that whatever you do, the outcomes should have some kind of impact. So that impact part is important. Next. So what are the different types of research articles? Quick. Time is passing. Sorry? Reviews. Short communications. Reflections, okay. Original articles. Okay, bring them all.
It's up to 3:30, just for your information. It's 1 hour 30 minutes.
Yeah.
At the half time.
At the half time, okay. He's my controller. Okay, let's come out with all. Maybe one more. Oh, go back. Here they are. Okay? Original research, I think so you mentioned it. Short or brief notes, and some people call it brief communication. It's basically the same thing.
Like commentaries?
Commentaries are different things. Commentaries are different. Commentary is that I read your research article and I'm so riveted to write something about it.
Positively or negatively?
Positively or negatively. Even though it is peer reviewed, still I am so driven to write because I found something in it that either I didn't like or I liked so much, which people missed and it was not mentioned. Okay? Now, review articles can be invited. The editor of the journal might write to you, hey, we know that you are one of the stalwarts in this field and we would like you to write something very interesting. Now, today, the world is different. 20 years ago, the world was different. Today, what will happen is there are a lot of journals who will send email after email and inundate you and say, you are the expert in the field, even if you will say, really? So, a lot of crap is also going on. But anyway, you might be invited because of your expertise, because of your knowledge base in that particular discipline, in that particular field. You are so very well known. And most recently, you published 3-4 articles that really make a big sense. So the journal wants to sum it up and have some synthesis out of it. This is very important. A lot of people think that review article is a review article. I can write review article just like that. No. Review articles have to make sense. They should show a leap in that particular area. So sometimes what you do is you propose that I have done this. And I will put all these things together and come up with something new which has not been published. And that's also a review article. So this proposition comes from the author or authors. Then the editor reviews it and says, that makes sense. That could be exciting. And those are the type of research articles also that are very valuable. And there are 3 or 4 of such ones that I have published in my career. So they can be very exciting. Anyway, case reports, these are more on the clinical side in your area. You do write a case report. You found a particular patient who you tried some experiment or who came up with the I'm just making it up, nutrition related, and you gave that individual XYZ and the person became better. You want to report it. You want to share it immediately. Now, these are not extensive things. These are like short communications. Case reports are typically short communications. Book chapters, they are also typically invited. Somebody is preparing a book, editing a book, and asks you, reaches out to you to write. So it is again invited, mostly invited. And then conference articles. Several conferences, they put together articles. Most of them have abstracts, but some of them have articles. And some of them are valuable. And once you publish in a conference, then you don't go in a journal. So it's a give and take. Do you want to do it? I have, in my discipline, and I'm from genomics, in my discipline, we always refrained from publishing it in any of the conferences. We published it in journals. But there are some engineering, I don't know how it in business, I really don't know. Both ways. So it's a choice which you have to make whether or not it is worthy of publishing in the conference, or you would like to keep it a secret and tell everything only in a journal, which is a broader base. Okay, next. Now a word about the journal and the quality. It's very, very important. If you want an easy ride with this little material, you can go to a journal and say, here it is. They will take some money from you. And believe me, I have found myself as dean in a situation where I have to sign on a, how to say, a proposal that I need 9,000 dirham to publish my article, my research. It is wonderful research. And when I see the journal, its name, I say, really? So there are times I question the person and I guide the person. There are times when they say that it's my money. I got it for funding. I'm using it. Who the hell are you? But be conscious about where you spend and where you publish. If you get into the habit of publishing by paying, it's a disaster. Honestly, it is a disaster. It happens. And with today's open access journal system, it's not the same type of people who are sitting in the editorial boards who are running the show, but it is the people who are businessmen or people who want some quick money are the ones who are running these journals. It's just like, I'm sorry to say that, I should not, but I dare to say it, that there are some hospitals you go, the doctors cannot take the final decision about a surgery. Who takes it? The finance manager sitting at the back. This is something similar that is happening with the journals. So next one, please. So there are a bunch of predatory journals who are playing with your sentiments and playing with your money. And they are providing you the platform. And you suddenly feel very good about it. And sadly, some of these journals are getting some impact factor. Because there is a rat race to go and publish in them. And that publication results in citations anyway, somehow. Some papers are okay. And suddenly their impact factor is 3, 4, 7. What to do? But they are taking a lot of money to publish. And when they are taking money to publish, they're giving you a little bit leeway where they say it is okay, let it go. So it's a mixed bag. So make sure in your life, try to go with the right journal and try to publish in quality journals. Try to make sure that this editorial board is something that you can trust and create quality standards for your discipline. You are the ones who will be controlling the future. Okay?
So if we have this kind of cases, why not to report these kind of journals?
To who?
I think there is no any monetary system.
We are the system. No, monetary, forget it. If I open in the Cayman Islands, nobody can trace me. It's business after all. Just like I gave the example of hospitals, it's business. So it has become business. And there are people like you and me who have pressure to get X number of articles for my master's degree or for my PhD degree or for my CV to get a job or to get a tenure or to get a promotion, whatever. So it's a rat race. How do you choose the journal in which you would like to publish? So I have emphasized upon you enough that quality matters a lot. Please go ahead. Firstly, if you are from engineering, don't publish in biology unless there is a biology component. Okay? And if you are in physics, just don't go unless there is an angle for business and economics and okay, I'll publish over there. This is a very broad. So be very choosy about the journals that are relevant to your discipline. Stay within that. Play that game. Stay on that ground. Okay? Quality of the journal and impact factor matters, but you have to distinguish between real quality journals versus the predatory journals. And I told you that predatory journals are really gaining traction because people are wanting to publish and there are citations, so they are getting traction. You have to distinguish between them. But you are the gatekeepers of your discipline, maintaining the highest quality and the highest standards by focusing on the journals that are in your realm. So be mindful of that. It is very important that you don't send an article to a journal that will receive it and takes 1 year to publish it. In today's world, we are either way impatient, but this is a very important factor. So a time frame of about 21 days is quite a reasonable time, but 1 month is a normal time for a turnaround to get comments back. Another 15 days. Now, what happens is we get to the comments, and invariably we sleep. We might get excited the first time that, comments have come, let me get to it. But typically, authors sleep on the comments, they take more time, and things get delayed. It's very important that once you have written the article, and once you have submitted, in 3 months, it should be in press. So it goes to the press. And because today, it's not the press of 30 years ago or 20 years ago where they have to use the typesets and put things together. It's electronic. Boom, it gets done pretty fast. So make sure that there's a good turnaround. Open access, and I've put 4 stars over it. Most of the predatory journals are open access too. Have the ability to distinguish between them and the quality journals. I'm a very strong proponent of open access because if somebody sitting in Madagascar or South Africa or Chile wants to know about my work, I want him or her to be able to access and read my article. So open access is a good thing, but using this open access as a pretext, some of the business people have come into the game and they have made it a platform for earning money and publishing everything. So open access is readership of the journal. Are people who are reading that journal, are they in your area, in your discipline? Now there are some journals that are way above over here. What are those journals? For example, Nature, Science, and such. And I'm sure in your area also there are journals that are way above over here, and then there are. So you should know which journals to go. Now Nature will take, or Science, both of them will of course take anything related to STEM, but there are sometimes they are ready to take anything else also, which has a huge impact on the society. And it has some analytical part in it by which those conclusions are being drawn. So they do. But their readership is so broad. So you have to know that who will be reading my articles and which journals should I publish so that it can have the biggest dissemination, not just to your community, but community interrelated. Why do I say interrelated? In today's world, interdisciplinary has become extremely important. Staying within your discipline is like a horse with the blinders that can see only this much. Who knows today, whatever work you are doing can be picked up by an engineer, can be taken up by a biologist, can be taken up by a lawyer, and what comes out of it, you never know. That's the world we are living in. Quick one. Interface of the two, yeah.
Exactly, but how to make sure that I'm not focused?
How to make sure?
To make sure that I stay focused and giving high quality in both.
Yeah. There are always journals, and this is where you will have to use your wisdom and your experience. And if you feel that I have not come up to the right conclusion, have some patience, reach out to people. There are a bunch of wise and experienced people who will be able to tell you that, you know what, your choice is right. So good you brought this up. There were times in the beginning I did not know which journal to go to. And I asked my colleagues, picked up the phone, hey, I've got these results, and I'm thinking about this journal. I always used to do that I'm thinking about this journal, but can you recommend me anything better? So people will help, okay? And especially in the early stages of your career, it is very important to communicate, okay? Okay, now different components of the article. Go ahead, bring the whole thing on the slide. Sounds familiar? Okay? Can I skip this slide? There's one thing I would like to add over here. Future prospects. In some journals, in some articles, you have conclusions, okay, instead of future prospects. So what I'll do in the next, oh my goodness, I've got only 30 minutes left. I'll go through each one of them. Okay, but this made sense to you? I'm sorry I didn't go through this slide. This makes sense to you? Okay.
Is it recommendation? Recommendation will be which part? With conclusion maybe?
Sorry, oh yeah, it's conclusion or future prospect. Oh, here it is, conclusion. Did you add it?
It was the previous slide. There are 2 slides.
2 slides, okay. So maybe I was making and then I went to this slide. So recommendations, typically you don't make recommendations in a scientific article. You don't do that. All you can say is that we know this, so this is what we think. Or you say that we have taken it from from X to Y, but the journey should still continue. So the future prospects is about that, but I'll go through it.
Because when we are doing critique, we can see some parts of research articles, they will write recommendation, specifically if there is a burden of disease or if there is a...
Yes, I get your point. I get your point. But on a legal side, even in healthcare, you have to be very careful before you give any recommendation, because there are always state bodies that will have to review them, and only then those recommendations are applicable in a health system. I get your point, but I want to make sure that you understand that there are procedures that need to be followed before those recommendations, because otherwise what happens is that if she is reading that and she will say, oh, this is a recommendation, I should start following it in my work. No. Okay? So we start with the first thing, title and affiliation, and I'll go very fast on it. I just picked up one of my articles just to show you. The title is here, should not be very long, typically 20 words. It should not go to 30, 35 words. It should be short. The names, who is the corresponding author, for example, institution, affiliation, and all those things. These are very simple, straightforward. I don't think so there is any confusion on this. No question. Let's move forward. Abstract. Now, abstract is, whenever I told in one of the slides earlier that I want you to read the literature as much as possible, before you even think about taking up a research plan or doing a specific type of research. Abstracts become very important because in today's world there are thousands and thousands of articles. And you write the keywords, and goodness great, there are so many that come. And all you can do is first read the abstract and then try to think that should I go into this paper, should I not? Should I go, should I not? Now, because your expectation is very clear that I wish this person would have written it correctly and nicely and properly. That's why writing the abstract is correctly, nicely, properly is very, 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 very important. While it is an expectation from others, it is your responsibility to make sure that your abstract is crisp. It's nicely written. It's well summarized. And the components, put them all together, please. And the components that I believe are very useful when you're writing an abstract is, it should be concise. It should not be a long story. Okay? Nobody will read it. Even when you are scrolling through those 1,000 abstracts and try to find out 20 that are relevant, you can't. So it should be concise, to the point. It should begin with a background that this is the reason why I started thinking about this particular work. It should have an outcome, that these are the results I got. It should have an impact. This is what attracts me when I read an abstract and I find these three things. There you go. So make sure in whatever abstract you write, you focus on these words. Should not be more than 200 words. Now, when I say 200 words, don't take it literally 200 words or 250 words. It can be shorter. It can be only 100 words. It can be only 80 words also. 200 is the limit beyond which I would not recommend you to go. So sometimes when I have used this 200 words, people thought that I have to write 200. No, 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 no. If you can make it short, sweet, communicative, better. Fewer the words, the better it is. The most important thing is it should give you the glimpse of the glory of whatever research that has been done. You get it? Abstract is very, very important. So when do you write the abstract? At the end. Sorry? At the end. At the end. At the end. Good. This was a hit. Everybody knows it. Some people start thinking that, you know what, I know the whole story, let me write the abstract first. Never, never do that. It's always written at the end. Very good. Okay. The introduction. Now, introduction is very important because it gives the segue into what you are up to in that particular research that you are presenting, what you are wanting to present, what you are giving. So it sets the stage of what was done in this work, why it was done, what was missing. Can you put all the things, please? Yep. So it starts with a little bit of a background that about that particular topic which is represented in that article, you want to give a background about it. So you give a little bit of background. After giving the background, you remember I've stressed in numerous times about a lot of literature review. That comes handy over here to tell that this is the current status of science. This is what is available today. And we talked about knowledge gap. This is the knowledge gap that is present. That is the reason, and this is a limitation that is not letting us understand X, Y, Z in the future. That is the reason why we are proposing this work. And then the impact part gives a summary. So this is my viewpoint of a typical introduction. Now be mindful of the fact that I told you you should have a very thorough literature review, because you will be using a lot of references in introduction. Because you will justify everything by that. By reading your introduction, I can tell you whether you have done a good work to look around properly and have designed your experiment properly, designed in the sense that conceived the experiment, the research properly or not. It's very, very important. Okay? Any question on this? This is mine. Any question on this? I'm just taking a breather. Okay. So this is also the chronology, okay? So typically what happens is people start writing introduction as one of the first things, sometimes. And we'll argue what should be written first, okay? We'll argue about that. But the problem comes that what sentence should I write first? Where do I begin? Where do I go? So here is a guide for you. Go back, previous slide. Here's a guide for you. All you have to do is have one page and have all these things written in a chronological manner. And then instead of going blindly, just take one small part at a time and start writing. At least you will have some framework for your introduction. Okay? Next. Material and methods. Now this is one of the most important part of any research work. One of the most important. You cannot mess up with it. Why? Why do you read the research articles of other people? For their outcomes? No. You want to understand how this work was done.
Yes.
Because you are doing your planning and you want to know if I am following the similar thing or I am doing something new or I am adding something to the experiment. So this is a very important thing. Bring it the whole thing. Now, as compared to other parts of the article, material and methods have to be really exhaustive. Every little detail has to be pointed out. Every experiment has to be chronologically presented. We did this first, we did this next, we did this, and within each experiment, every possible detail related to the experiment needs to be mentioned. How the analysis was done needs to be mentioned. From where the data was collected needs to be mentioned. If any animal subjects or human subjects were used, needs to be mentioned. From where did you get them? Needs to be mentioned. And most importantly, the last thing over here. Did you get permission from the ethics committee in your institution to do that work? Okay? So though all these things are extremely important, and even when you are showing the experiments, you have to give some reasoning behind it that this is the reason why we chose this. If an ANOVA is there, this is the reason why we did it. And these are the, how to say, the standards for what is it called?
SOPs.
No, standards for like the 5% and the 1%.
Statistics, sample size calculation.
Yeah. So this is how it has to be. Make sure that when you are preparing your material methods, all these things are there. And by the way, if I were you, this is the first thing I will write in my article.
This is
Why?
the first one you're going to start with it.
Yep.
And I feel, yeah, this is the
Because it's the plan.
Because it is the plan. You did all your experiments out of it.
But what about the literature review?
Literature review is something that is going on in the background continuously, even till the paper is published.
So you recommend that we have to start with this one?
I recommend it. Out of my experience, I have found that if you have a plan of experiment that will not help you, it will help, but not as much. But if you have done the set of experiments, you know exactly what has been done, you can put this together pretty fast. So this is the first thing you should put together. And as soon as this is put together, the very next thing, yes, somebody said that? No? Results. Results. That is the progression. Then comes the discussion immediately thereafter. Then comes the introduction. Okay? Does that help? Okay.
Is it helpful or is it the right way to do it, or how?
I feel this is the right way. I feel this is the right way. Because experiment is something that is the heart of the whole, or whatever design of the experiment, or the data collection, or the analysis, that's the heart of the whole thing. And without that, you will not get any results, so you will not write. Without that, you will not be able to do anything. So this is one of the things that I even sometimes, when I see the first glimpse of some results, I go and start putting together some things, even if it is a draft. Okay, get them all there in the essence of time, please. Now, just like materials and methods, the results also should be presented in a very chronological way. Very chronological way. The same way that, okay, this experiment was done first, that result has to come first. This experiment was done subsequently, so there is a chronological way. Because then the data is also presented in the same way. So follow the same timeline and follow the same rules. Okay? Now, people get bogged away because they have 7 tables and 5 figures, and they start explaining every little detail from every table and every figure. Nope. No. I know you are excited that I got this also, I got that also, I got that also, but I'm not interested in reading it. I'm interested in key points from it, impactful points from it. So, sorry? Yes, for the article. For the article.
Can make it like small and simple.
That's what I'm saying here. Only appropriate amount of details. It should be concise. It should focus on salient findings. So you should be able to attract the reader to those salient findings. And then the rest the reader can find out from the figures, or from the supplementary information, or from the tables and so on. So you can refer that in the text. But don't get excited to write every, for example, in a table there are 7 rows. Don't start explaining each row by row by row by row. I'm not interested.
Maybe we can summarize. Then the reader can find maybe.
So you pick the salient points. That's the important things. But make sure that whatever you have in the tables and the figures is appropriately represented in the text. With numbers, right numbers. So whatever number you put over there, that 23.75 plus minus whatever, people should refer. So table 1 and so on. So it should be done properly. But those figures and tables, they need to be described properly. Okay? And in this, be mindful of the fact that don't get excited to start talking about discussion or comparative analysis. This is not the place. Unless, just a second, unless the journal says that the title is results and discussion. Then you can engage in it. Sorry? What I mean is that in results, it has to be results. It is flat. I saw this, I saw this, saw this, this came out, this came out, this came out. Don't start discussing it. Don't start synthesizing it. Don't start coming out with comparative conclusions with the literature. Refrain from it. That's why I've written in bold over there, no discussions. No discussions unless unless the title is results and discussion. Even in results and discussions, it's not that every result is discussed immediately down. Results, discussions in that are taken a little bit later. Okay? Any question? Quick.
So they have to be connected to the objectives of the article.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Even in results, where you have to mention that this is the result of the objective 1, 2, 3.
Not necessary. Not necessary. Not necessary that way. Okay? Because it's more for a thesis.
Oh, yeah. I'm thinking about it.
Okay? It's more for a thesis. I understand that. Not for this. Discussion, get all of them. Now, discussion is a mirror that reflects your image. Because this is where the outcome of your work is reflected. This typically takes most time to write. And I would strongly recommend you to give it due respect and take a lot of time to write. Also, keep in mind that, and I'm bringing it up again and again and again and again, literature review becomes very important. All your knowledge about literature review, all your notes about literature review, they come very handy over here, because every sentence you write over here is weighted against the existing knowledge and the reference to which you will go. Okay? So just imagine how important is in-depth literature review in your area. If you have done very good review of literature on this particular subject matter, on the article that you've written, I guarantee you your writing of the article will be smooth. You will be confident. On the other hand, if you have not done enough good work with your literature review, your introduction will be bad, your discussion will be terrible. Keep that thing in mind. Anyway, every result that you have presented, now what you are trying to do is you are giving a meaning to it. That we got this data, we had these results, and these results mean this thing. Now, meaning is not quantitatively just numbers, no. Meaning is impact. So this is where we are talking about the impact or the outcome of the work, real outcome. So no numbers, but real outcomes.
Can you give us an example, for example? Like, let's say, for example, the number of male is with this disease is more than female. So how will be the discussion?
So the table shows clearly that the males are more susceptible to this condition than the females. So table shows. So in the results you will say that 65% of the males were affected and 35% of the females were affected. Now when you go to discussion, it was evident that males are affected by this much more than the females. And there, when you were talking about recommendations, that part comes in.
Can we use other research, like when I say in the discussion, sometimes they use other research, like
You have to.
evident,
Why am I saying literature review? You have to. Because in your case, it could be 65-35. But she did a work where she found 55-45. Which contradicts your. So it could be that your population has this, but this population, and I'm just using a word, Jordan, has got different. Okay? Now, this is very, very important. Synthesis. So this is like taking out the essence, the extract of the whole thing, and projecting that this is the outcome of my work. This is what has come out. A comparative analysis versus the literature. All along you will be doing it. So literature review again becomes very important. Now you have to be smart enough to show that what new you did in this work. Every effort should be made that you have taken the science to the next step. So pointing out to the novelty in your work is important, because then you will be able to convince the reviewer and the editor. There are two levels of checking going on. Sometimes the reviewers might say yes, but the editor may say still no, because he feels or she feels that there is no novelty in it. So make sure that you point out that novelty very, very clearly, that this is a breakthrough also. And
Sorry, how can we say the novelty? Like, if I wrote a discussion, like, what indicate novelty? Like, it doesn't, like, some...
have you done this for the first time, just for example?
So I should write this research was the first of its kind?
Yes, you can. But don't just say because you believe it. There is evidence that this is not done, and that evidence is provided already in the introduction. So you have staged the...
Because I can see some research, they will say this is the first...
Oh yeah. And that's why there is peer review. They catch it.
Okay.
They catch it. And that's why there are editors who catch it. And that's why there's a chief editor who further...
They overestimate some...
Yeah, but we all think that we are the best. Why not? Okay, portray overall outcome and how science benefits from your work. Make sure that you write a sentence or two about it. Don't leave it blank. Even though you have done the synthesis, you have provided that what is the meaning of this result, but make sure how it impacts humanity, for example, how it impacts industry, for example, how it impacts any of the other things in your particular field. So that impact is a wow. That's a wow segment. So don't write a full paragraph on it. Write few lines, 2-3 lines, few sentences about it that tells.
Like, justify the result.
So in introduction, you remember I had a small little title over there that says that justify the reason why we are doing this work.
Yeah.
Come back to it. Hammer that point again.
Yeah.
That you see, we started this work because of this, and we are able to deliver it.
So this is novelty.
A lot of journals don't want this, and again, I can put conclusions also over here. So depending upon the format of the journal and the way they want the articles to be written, do it. So it's not usual, but recommended. I always tended to write because I wanted to give the reader a glimpse of what can be done in the future, or also trying to tell the readers that this is what I'm thinking. Actually, typically, I'm already doing those experiments, by the way. It is very fair. It is very fair. Because by the time it will be published, I'm on top of it. I'm on top of it. Let me share. Oh my goodness, there's very little time. There's some interesting things to share. Sometimes what happens is future prospects are how to say the closing argument of the whole publication, of the whole article. It's the closing argument. Okay? And this is, in fact, this closing argument is the most interesting part of the whole paper. So the summary of the impact is another very interesting, but this is really the most interesting because it excites me, because at least I'm able to look into the author's thought process, and every author cannot do whatever is written over there. So there is always a piece that I can also bite. So sometimes I look at it that way. Where should the science go next? You want to tell them. A very thoughtful summation and reflection of why you did the experiment, where you reached, where it should go. And it portrays the overall impact of the work. Make sure that you give due acknowledgements to everyone. Don't miss anyone. The funding agencies need to be acknowledged, always. Institution needs to be acknowledged. All these things are very important. This is courtesy. This is scientific gratitude. And you always should rise at this point and make sure that even if the technician provided some assistance, you thank her or him. Even if the graduate student provided assistance, this little, that person is mentioned over here. But if it was this little, the person should be in the author list. And if you're not, ask your supervisor, why am I not here? If you dare to. Okay, so this is a thank you note for every article. This is a very important part of it. Next. References, they are very important. Don't give 1,000 references. Some journals mention it very clearly, we will not take more than 20 references. I think so sometimes Nature says, or Science says, 10 references here, we don't want more. So you have to be very choosy. Sometimes you have to make sure that the most fundamental reference related to those articles are there. Don't go after the fluff. 1 or 2 review references are always good to have. So you are the best judge to evaluate which of the references are the most. So if you have 100, you have to identify and prioritize the best 20 that are most directly relevant to the work. Okay? Don't go after a very big list. Never. Never. Even though there are 1,000 more, don't go after them. Next. Supplementary material, you mentioned about it, especially in business areas and in some of the STEM areas. The amount of data is too much, and sometimes the reviewers and even the readers want to know about that data, and that is there. 4 or 5 of my articles have got this much supplementary information, a lot of supplementary. And there was a time when I had a beautiful image of all the chromosomes with all the genes and colors and similarities, and went into supplementary because the policy of the journal was we will take only 7 pages and no 8th page. And this was a huge amount of work. It went into supplementary, but that's okay, so don't cry. Sometimes table and data, table and some figures go, so they go. Your figures and table are a reflection of whatever you have done. Make sure they are high definition, they are prepared very, very carefully. Share it with your colleagues for criticism. Don't cry after that if they say it is bad, but make sure they are top of the mark. Just one glimpse and the person should be able to understand, okay, this is happening. And the same thing goes with the legend together with the figure or the table. It should explain that figure and table so nicely and neatly that reading the legend, you can follow, okay, this is happening, good.
Sometimes, Doctor, if we have good software, like for the SPSS analysis, we can like highlight and we can
Depending upon, yeah, depending upon how the journal wants it. But nothing can do, no software can make, bring the, highlight the outcome of the work better than what you can present it. They should be easy to follow, they should be comprehensive, and the legends must be simple, always simple. Don't make it complex. Never use long sentences. Not more than 15 words, never. Okay? And that's it. Sorry, I took 5 minutes more. Okay.
Thank you.
There are so many stories I wanted to tell, but there's very limited time. You did it.